Can you still feel the pulse of 1,000 hearts beating to the same timeless rhythm, mud squishing between your toes as waves of music and laughter drift through the humid summer air? Woodstock was more than just a festival. It was a turning point, a shared celebration of freedom, rebellion, and hope under open skies. The scent of damp earth mingled with patchouli oil, tie-dye shirts fluttered like flags, and a sense of possibility swept through. Crowds who believed music could change the world. As guitars echoed over rolling hills and the peaceful chaos of youth unfolded, something unforgettable was born, a moment when boundaries faded and strangers became family beneath rain-soaked tarps and swirling banners. Were you there, or do you remember those headlines and stories from friends who returned home, changed forever? Even those who watched from afar felt the impact, sensing a seismic, cultural shift. Join us as we revisit the spirit, sounds, and memories of Woodstock, the 70s event that defined a generation and left a mark no rainstorm could ever wash away. Picture America in the late 1960s, shifting and restless, with old certainties giving way to questions nobody knew how to answer. The Vietnam War dragged on, headlines chronicling casualties and protests in equal turns. College campuses buzzed with activism, marches against the draft, teach-ins, sit-ins. The civil rights movement fought for justice in cities and small towns, bringing hope and conflict to millions of Americans. Music, too, began transforming. From buttoned-up crooners and pop harmonies into a storm of raucous guitars, protest lyrics, folk revival, and a longing for something new, something bigger than any one voice could contain. Just under the surface, a powerful force was gathering, a yearning for change, for community, for a reason to believe in tomorrow. It's easy to look back now and see Woodstock as inevitable, like a thunderstorm on the horizon, but at first it was just a wild, ambitious dream. The roots of this event stemmed from both a rejection of the established order and a desire for unity. Did you know the actual idea for Woodstock didn't emerge from a band or a famous counterculture leader, but from 4 young men, Michael Lang, Artie Kornfeld, Joel Rosenman, and John Roberts? They weren't seasoned festival organizers or activists. In fact, 2 of them were entrepreneurs hoping to start a music studio. But the spirit of the times swept them along, a conviction that music, peace, and togetherness could ignite something special. What did America sound like in 1969? The radio dial was a tapestry, the Beatles singing Come Together, Marvin Gaye's velvet voice, Jimi Hendrix bending notes into shapes nobody thought possible. At the same time, young people grew weary of the news, scenes of conflict in Vietnam, the tragedy at Kent State, debates that turned families and friends against each other. People hungered for a break from division and a reason to hope. So it's no wonder that the idea of a massive festival, 3 days of peace and music, grabbed imaginations everywhere. It promised not just entertainment, but an opportunity to live out an ideal that peace, love, and music could change the world, if only for a little while. But how did this grand vision take shape? The organizers imagined the festival would be a modest gathering, perhaps 50,000 attendees on a dairy farmer's land in upstate New York. Tickets were printed, plans laid, a lineup assembled. Surprising as it seems today, the small rural town of Bethel had no idea what was about to hit it. The local government, expecting a minor spike in visitors, approved the permits almost offhandedly. You might not believe this, but the original host town, Wallkill, forced the organizers out just weeks before the festival due to fears of crowds and chaos. The last-minute scramble to find Max Yasgur's farm has become legend. Speaking of Max Yasgur, have you ever heard his name before? He was a local dairy farmer of no particular fame until he agreed, against the wishes of many neighbors, to lease his fields for the festival. Yasgur believed in the right of young people to come together in peace, even if it meant hosting the largest unplanned crowd his sleepy county had ever known. Picture the courage it took. Within days, more than 400,000 people would descend upon his fields. When you see those aerial shots of teeming throngs, know they were possible because one man listened to his conscience over local gossip. Yet, challenges mounted as the date grew near. Construction crews raced to finish the stage and sound system, but the crowds arrived in unstoppable droves, days before work was complete. Highways clogged for miles, neighbors sold sandwiches and water to passing festival goers. Many never even got their tickets checked. The event inadvertently became free, only adding to its lure. Remember those huge lineups you used to see outside movie premieres or concerts back in the day? Maybe even braved yourself for tickets to see the Beatles or Elvis. That spirit was multiplied 100 times as Woodstock's early arrivals camped wherever they could, drawn by rumors, word of mouth, and sheer excitement. Rumbling cars, packed buses, groups on foot. The energy was contagious. Imagine the buzz of anticipation as the crowd swelled, not knowing exactly what awaited, but certain it would be different from anything they'd known. Now here's a little-known detail. Some of the biggest acts that made Woodstock legendary, like The Who and Janis Joplin, were booked after first refusing or hesitating, uncertain the festival would even get off the ground. Can you imagine what history would look like if their organizers hadn't persisted, or if those icons hadn't changed their minds at the last moment? As the sun rose over Max Yasgur's farm on August 15, 1969, what stood ready was not a slick corporate event, but a patchwork wonder held together by hope and determination. No one, not even the most optimistic organizer, could have predicted the turnout or the worldwide attention that was about to descend on this sleepy patch of upstate New York farmland. So, as we prepare to step deeper into the sights, sounds, and unforgettable moments of Woodstock, ask yourself, can you recall the last time you felt part of something bigger than yourself? A collective moment so powerful it rippled across the country and lodged itself forever in memory. Hold on to that feeling, because ahead we'll dig into how the event unfolded against all odds, against the rains, and against every expectation. As we come to the end of our journey through the legend of Woodstock, it becomes clear that this was far more than a weekend of music and muddy fields. It was a living testament to an era when hope, rebellion, and a hunger for connection played out on a grand and unforgettable stage. We've revisited a moment in 1969 that began as a modest gathering and grew into a cultural phenomenon, a gathering where Max Yasgur's sprawling farm opened its arms to nearly 500,000 souls bound together by the simple ideals of peace, love, and music. We remembered how the backbone of the festival was not just the superstar performances, but also the volunteers handing out food, neighbors sharing water, and strangers opening makeshift shelters in battered tents. Through stories of legendary acts, from Hendrix's thunderous guitar at dawn to Richie Haven's impromptu opening, Woodstock reminds us how music amplified both the joy and the urgency of its time, calling out for change, unity, and a brighter tomorrow. The festival endured rainstorms that turned fields to rivers of mud, but spirits were never dampened. In fact, those challenges only strengthened the sense of kinship among festival-goers. Even when food ran low and the infrastructure buckled, the communal energy of sharing and kindness filled the gaps. If you close your eyes, can you still hear the far-off echo of freedom sung into the wind, or feel the shiver as spotlights lit up faces filled with awe and hope? Woodstock wasn't just about the music or the big-name acts. It was about being part of a shared experience that defined a generation. It was a time when the barriers between people momentarily melted away, when strangers danced arm in arm, and when the memory of one extraordinary summer became a lifelong touchstone. As years have passed, we've watched the world change in ways both wondrous and bewildering, but the core spirit that Woodstock ignited, a call to connect, to care, to stand for something greater than ourselves, still resonates deeply. For some of us, these were the days of our youth. For others, a story passed down that captured the electric dreams of a restless time. Either way, the legacy of Woodstock is not just a snapshot frozen in faded photographs or scratchy recordings. It's a feeling that stirs whenever we hear the familiar strains of a guitar that opened hearts, or recall a time when peace was more than a word, but a wish carried in every song. So let me ask you, if you could return to Max Yasgur's fields for just 1 hour, drifting with music on the breeze, who would you want by your side, and what song would you hope to hear first? Share a memory, a story, or even your favorite Woodstock moment in the comments. Did you or someone you love experience those 3 remarkable days firsthand? Or do certain songs transport you straight back to a summer when anything felt possible? If this nostalgic trip has touched a memory or sparked a conversation, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more journeys into the music, culture, and moments that shaped our shared history. And if there's a friend who'd appreciate the sights and sounds of Woodstock, feel free to send this video their way. There's so much more to explore in the stories of our past, so be sure to join us again for the next chapter. Until then, keep the spirit of Woodstock alive. Let its echoes remind us that no matter how much time passes, the dream of peace, love, and music still flows through us all like a familiar song fading gently into the evening air.